Order for Tuesday, November 1st, 2016. This is a 6:30 PM meeting. We're going to motion verbal to, a verbal call vote to move to executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an opening meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Strautman matter. Roll call vote. You wish to go to executive session?
Also moved, go into executive session.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 4-0. All right, we're now in executive session, so for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome, and thank you for coming for Tuesday, November 1st, regular meeting. Public announcements, we'll move right into. Absentee ballots are available at the Hanson Town Clerk's office for the state election being held on Tuesday, November 8th. Any registered voter who is unable to vote in person on election day due to absence from town, physical disability, or religious belief may obtain an absentee ballot. Voters may absentee vote in person at the town clerk's office or by mail. Applications for absentee ballots will be accepted at the town clerk's office until noontime, Monday, November 7th. For more information, call the town clerk's office at 781-293-2772. The town clerk would like to remind voters that early voting will be available during regular business hours in the town clerk's office until 12 p.m. on Friday, November 4th. The town clerk's office will close at noon on Monday, November 7th, and all day on Tuesday, November 8th, for the election. The clerk's office will also be closed for training at noon on Tuesday, November 15th, and all day on Wednesday, November 16th. Please plan your business accordingly. The Hanson Senior Center and Veterans Agent will be hosting a Veterans Day reception on Thursday, November 10th at 10 a.m. at the Hanson Senior Center for Veterans from all branches of the military. All veterans are welcome and encouraged to attend. Please contact the Senior Center at 781-293-2683 to register for the free event. The Calvary Baptist Church at 429 Montponce Street will be hosting a thank you breakfast for first responders and veterans on Saturday, November 12th, from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Please RSVP by calling 781-293-6367 or emailing kdskjerli@gmail.com. All town offices and the transfer station will be closed on Friday, November 11th, in observance of Veterans Day. I'd also like to point out that the Hanson Public Library will have its open house sponsored by the Hanson Public Library Foundation, Incorporated, Saturday, November 19th, 2016, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., featuring Olaf from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Magic Show from 12 to 12:45, and Tom Boyer on piano and John Wall on bass. That sounds good. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Light refreshments throughout the day, community judging and announcement of winners of the first annual Hanson Public Library Art Show will be held. And we'll move to meetings. Going back to my agenda. Upcoming meetings. We have the Historical Commission on Wednesday, November 9th at 6 p.m. The Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday, November 15th at 7 p.m. and Tuesday, November 29th at 7 p.m. again.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add the taxes are due today. The Treasurer Collector's Office will be open until 8 p.m. tonight. And also, the board members are invited to the Veterans Breakfast. If you just let me know if you plan to attend, I'll pass that along to the Veterans Agent.
Thank you, Mary. And again, that's on Thursday, November 10th, right?
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Moving on to new business. We're going to mix up our agenda. We're going to do the town administrator's report near the end, Mike. Good. Moving on, unfortunately, here we go. Announce resignation of Water Commissioner Mary Lou Sutter, effective November 12th, 2016. Regretfully, and I read to this board, I read to everybody out here on the board, it has become increasingly difficult for me to attend meetings as my health worsens and winter approaches. As a result, I must regretfully resign as Water Commissioner. However, I did not want to resign, leaving a full board, so I am relieved that I can do so and leave a full board, as there is so much more work ahead. We're fortunate to have two gentlemen interested in becoming Water Commissioners for this town. Sincerely, Mary Lou Sutter.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd like to personally commend Mrs. Howard. I personally commend Mrs. Sutter as somebody who worked with Mrs. Sutter over the years and as a water commissioner.
Mhm.
On many years of service and hard work in many facets of town government. And I wish to thank her for all that,
Thank you.
everything she's done.
Thank you, Mary Lou. I'd entertain a motion to accept Mary Lou Sutter's resignation from the Water Commission
Move to accept with regret.
with regret.
Second.
Motion was seconded. I'm gonna go with age on this one, Don Howard, okay?
And Water Commissioner.
Yes, that's right, too. There you go. Who, me? All of us?
Speak up.
I'll speak up. I've never been told that, Mary Lou. Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
I've been told that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Bruce has been, though. Yeah, okay. All right, so we're voting to accept with regret Mary Lou Sutter's resignation from the Water Commission.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you again, Mary Lou. Okay, in addition to that, we also have an appointment to the Board of Water Commissioners. And we also have the Water Board here. Do we have members? Do we have enough for quorum? We do, all right. We have two applications for a Water Commission. One is Dennis C. O'Connell at 101 Main Street. And he lists his qualifications as 30-plus years as union electrician, worked on MWRA in Deer Island, MBTA, Boston Housing Authority, numerous civil projects, previous Mass Turnpike auditor, Bank of Boston audit, and Colonial Province, is it? Meat cutter, as a meat cutter.
Who's this?
We also have another application for appointment, Mr. William John Garvey, and he has listed his resume, as you gentlemen should see it in your attachments. His educational experience from South Shore Regional Voc Technical School, his also from Massasoit Community College, work experience, Randwell Engineers, Buckley Associates, RDK Engineers, WSP, USA, formerly SEI Engineers of Boston, as mechanical designer and HVAC sales engineer for Buckley Associates. He's listed various affiliations and awards also. So do I have a nomination for
This
this?
is total vote, right? So we all vote at the same time, Mary?
We'd all have to, I think we could, do we all vote at the same time? It can be
First,
broken up,
Mr.
right?
Chairman, I want to note that Dennis couldn't make it this evening due to a conflict with a family matter, so just so the board's aware of that. And I will also note that Selectman Howard actually, when we asked town council about this, Selectman Howard actually has 2 votes as a result of his dual membership on the water and the Selectmen.
Does that mean he holds up both hands?
Yeah. At the
But
same time.
it's a totality of the, I guess, 7 members or 8 members.
So because he has 2 votes, do we take a poll to the Board of Selectmen?
That's what I would advise,
We're
yes.
only
I
voting
getcha.
on one person tonight, right?
There's only one opening this evening, yes.
There's only one opening, that's correct. So do I have any nominations?
I'll nominate William Garvey.
I have a motion to nominate William Garvey.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded.
What did you say? He nominated William Garvey and Bill seconded
She can't hear you. Sorry. So motion has been made and seconded to vote William Garvey as the next water commissioner. I'll do the Board of Selectmen vote first. All those in favor, say aye.
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 How many were there?
All those against, say nay.
Nay.
Nay, 2 nays. And now from the Water Commission,
Okay,
All those-
who was the second one?
Kenny
Kenny
and Dawn.
and Dawn?
Yep. And now for the Water Commissioner vote. All those in favor, say aye. No favors? All those against, say nay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 against? Abstain?
Abstaining.
He's abstaining as Water Commissioner from it.
Okay, but you didn't abstain as a selectman, right?
Right.
No.
Okay.
That's to keep you on your toes for the notes there, Mary.
Apparently.
3-5.
Okay, so what's the count?
I think it's 3-5 total, the combined. So the entire water commission voted to, not to support, right? So there were three voting members.
Four
Well, no,
votes. Dawn
no,
abstained.
Dawn
Four,
abstained.
Right.
And then there were
Three.
3 votes from the Board of Selectmen in favor and 2 against. So it
Three to
fails, yeah, it's 3 to
Fails, yeah.
5.
So do I have a motion to, another nomination? The second candidate, Mr. O'Connell?
Dennis, so
Dennis
moved.
O'Connell?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded from the Board of Selectmen. All those in favor? All those, 2? We got 2, Mary, you got the 2 counts?
Mhm.
All those against? And now from the Water Commission, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
You're voting?
yeah.
4, okay, I wasn't sure you were gonna abstain, okay. And no against and no abstentions. So it's 4 in favor from the Water Commission.
Yeah, So it's 6-3 in
6-3
favor.
in favor.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Then-
in 2 weeks, we can have another appointment,
Hmm.
correct?
What's that?
In 2 weeks, we can have another
In
appointment.
2 weeks, we do have another appointment, that's
Another
correct.
appointment, Yeah, we can have another appointment.
Okay, so that makes Mr. O'Connell the Water Commissioner.
So we have to congratulate Mr. O'Connell on his appointment to the
for the Water
Hanson Board of
Commission.
Water Commissioners. I'm sure he'll do a very outstanding job.
Yeah.
For the record, I made my decision based on experience. So,
That's enlightening.
Okay, moving on to the next item on our agenda. We have Specialty Auto at 220 Liberty Street, and they have an increase on the number of vehicles for sale. I believe the increase was to 44 vehicles on this site. Petitioner is requesting site plan approved. A special permit, here, hold on,
That was Mr. Goodman here?
to accommodate 44 cars at 200 Liberty Street. Is that right, Mary?
Yes, he currently, he initially had 26 vehicles on the property. He subsequently purchased the neighboring property
Okay,
and wanted to expand his, the number of vehicles to 44. What you're reading there is a decision by the Zoning Board of Appeals for his special permit, which was approved back in March. When I went to do the renewals, I realized that this had transpired, but he hadn't actually come to the board, and the board's the one that actually issues him the used car license. So when I brought it to his attention, I said, you know, the board needs to vote it, and then when we do the renewals, his renewal will be for 44 vehicles, because currently his license is for 26.
okay. So is that a modification to the plan then, Mary? Yeah?
Yes,
Change?
he submitted that all to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay,
So he'll be using the parking area for the house next door to his initial business.
okay.
And I have spoken to the building inspector. Actually, last year when we did renewals, the building inspector did have some issues because he had too many cars at the time. He removed them all. He subsequently purchased the property next door, has cleaned things up, and the building inspector is fine with the
With this
with the current
proposal?
arrangement.
Okay, cool.
So everything's all set now.
Yes.
So you should see in front of you the judgment from the zoning board, Hanson Zoning Board of Appeals, excuse me, on March 8th, 2016. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion. Do we want to vote on this, right, Mary?
Yes, we
Entertain a
do.
motion To
Mhm.
accept the
Yes.
used car dealer's license on 200 Liberty Street, increased to 44 cars on the property.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Okay, cool. Okay, next we have a vote to the administrative assistant on the highway department.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that the Board of Selectmen entertain supporting my recommendation that we hire Mr. Jamison Shave as the new Highway Administrative Assistant. Ms. Shave is here this evening. If the board wishes to ask him any questions, but I present him, if you could stand for a second, Jamison. We went through a rather lengthy process. We had 17 applicants. We reviewed or interviewed 6 applicants, both the highway, the head of the highway, and Mary and I. And we came to the conclusion that Jamison was the best fit for this particular position. He comes with a plethora of experience in both administration and payroll. Of particular interest, I think, to the three of us was the fact that in his capacity at Fern Hill, he was familiar with an awful lot of things that he would have to deal with in the highway position, having to do with groundskeeping and plowing and those sorts of things. So I would ask the board, if the board has any questions to Jamison, certainly would ask if you were willing to answer those. But in a nutshell, we're looking, or I'm looking, for your validation of my recommendation.
I see, yeah, superintendent from 2013 to 16 of the Fern Hill Cemetery. Very nice. And read quite a bit on your resume, Mr. Shave, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Shave at this time?
Still looking at the,
Still looking at his resume? I see you've been involved in Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts, right?
Yes.
Very good. And you organized a Sinatra fundraiser?
Yeah, music festivals, yeah.
He happens to be my favorite singer, so that's good for, you got my vote on this one, all right? Okay. I'll give you a minute to review. Any other questions for him? Payroll administration, that's great. 401K administrator, experience in roadway construction and development, high level of customer interaction, general accounting, reporting and auditing, management of sales territory, Microsoft Office, creation of reports. Okay, if there's no further questions, I'd like to, I'd entertain a motion to accept Mr. Shave, Jameson E. Shave, as the administrative assistant to highway.
So moved.
second.
Donnie can get it.
Yeah, we'll give it to Donnie again.
What's that?
You nominated, you motioned it. Motioned first and Mr. Young seconded it,
Oh, because I'm the oldest?
because you're the oldest, yes. You take
Thanks.
priority over him,
Thanks.
okay?
I like
It's
that.
out of respect, it's not anything else, I promise.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I noticed he worked for Nabisco Foods, that's why Bob likes him.
That's it, there you go. All right, well, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, welcome, thank you.
Good luck.
All right, moving along. The next item we have is vote to surplus radio tower on High Street and radio antenna on the old police station. Do we have anything, Mary, I didn't see what this one, was
I
this,
don't have any paperwork other than it just,
then just this line?
yeah, just the line.
Okay,
Actually, I think I've probably surplused both of these before, but I'd have to search several years' worth of minutes to figure out when we did it. But we have had some people interested in the tower on High Street, if they can come and dismantle it, might be able to use it, and same as the antenna that's on the side of the old police station.
Old police
People have
station.
inquired about that as well, so we could surplus it through Unibid.
Mr. Chairman, I think the notion at this point is to remove the structure in conjunction with what we're doing down at the hospital. As Mary mentioned, what I would do, if the board is so inclined to surplus this piece of equipment, is put it on Unibid. And basically, if there's anyone interested in it, we'd probably sell it for a nominal fee just to remove it, even if it were for scrap. So it's something we obviously want to get rid of. We'd like to get rid of it at no cost to us. So if the board surpluses it, we'll see what the bids or what the auction brings.
Very good. So that's the radio tower on High Street and the radio antenna on the old police station. I'd like to entertain a motion to surplus these items.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mitchell. Discussion? I think it's a good idea, Mike. I mean, if we vote on this right away, how soon would it happen? Do we know?
Tomorrow. I'll put it on Municipid tomorrow.
Okay,
Probably a 2-week turnaround.
okay. All right. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. All right, cool. All right, the next item I have is the annual classification hearing for fiscal year 2017. And this is a public hearing notice in accordance with the Massachusetts.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. If I could just interject, that is actually scheduled for 7:30. I think we're a little ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
So
Hearing-
technically, because
hearing
it's a
has to
public
be-
hearing, we've got to do it at 7:30. So
Yep,
if the board is so inclined,
We'll
perhaps we
move-
can move a little forward on,
absolutely.
we don't need to table it at this point. We just don't need to open it.
Excellent. Sorry about that. I didn't,
No.
I would have read it that way too, so, okay. All right, moving on to the next item on our agenda is discuss the board's recommendation on the Recreation Commission. So we have an open item here on recommendation from the recent report, I guess, on the Recreation Commission. Is there anybody on this board who wishes to discuss further recommendations?
Yes, I do. I have a
Mr.
few-
Young?
I have a few things, actually, in relation to the report. One of the big items in the report is the fact that the report says, and Leo made the comments, that the report deals in, that the report just basically deals with examination of records, okay? And one of the problems you have with Camp Kawani is that the records down there are not integrated with the rest of the town, okay? We have an integrated accounting system. I have 35 years' experience in accounting. I've went through an old hand-done system where all your records, all your entries are done by hand, to an integrated system where you merely make the entry and everything flows into the proper accounts on the balance sheet. And your balance sheets are all automated, they're not done by hand. The Recreation Commission, unfortunately, is back in the Stone Age. So if you wanted to get a time count, if you wanted to have somebody print you out a list of reports for receivables, rental receivables, okay? In other words, when I say rental receivables, the name of the person who either rents the cabin, or rents the lodge, or rents the pavilion, or rents the facility. And I wanted to know if they paid a deposit, and what's the potential revenue that's going to eventually be paid. I can't get a printout, okay? In order to find out whether a rental was actually paid, whether a deposit was made on that, or whether it was paid in full, or whether it wasn't paid at all, I have no idea. There's nobody that can tell me positively that all of the rentals that were contracted, or the rentals that were agreed to over the past 6 years, or going back even further than that, were all paid. Nobody can tell you that, unless you physically sit down with each of the folders for the rental, and then go over to the turnover reports for the receipts that are turned into the town on a daily basis, and match those rental receipts with the rentals. Go through that tedious task, and that would be the only way you could do it. okay?
Mhm.
And therein lies my problem as an accountant. That's never been done and still isn't being done. So one of my recommendations as a result of this report, and I talked to Todd about it, and I also asked Todd what his involvement as a town accountant was in the preparation of the 31-page investigative report that basically dealt with rentals, and whether those rentals were being handled correctly, and rates were being paid, the right rates were being used, and they were being paid, and deposits were being made, and contracts were being signed in accordance with the audit report. And his involvement in that report was zero. He had no involvement in it. Todd, the town accountant, had no involvement in it, which was disturbing to me. So my recommendation would be, and Todd agrees with this, that we have the IT expert from the regional school department that we pay $50,000 a year to update our tech around here, to set up a small program for the Recreation Commission over there, the Recreation Department, so they can physically enter each and every rental agreement that they write and they agree to, as it comes up, with the name, the amount of the rental agreement. And then as those deposits, the deposit is made against it, you enter in the deposit and you enter in the final payment. And therefore you have this automatic tickler file that you can print out. And you know right to the minute what your potential rental revenues are at any one time. It's a simple program that can be set up. That would be one thing. That would be my first recommendation as a result of this investigative report. Okay. The second one is,
We got 4 minutes until we gotta move to the next item, right?
what's that?
7:30? We have to go into the public hearing notice?
What time is it now?
That's wrong.
That's not right.
It's
It's not right.
7:26.
You're giving me 4 minutes. You want to wait for the rest of them until after the hearing?
Just go ahead, I'm just letting you know, that's all.
All right, so you're not going to put a time limit on me?
Well,
Can I,
We have to start at 7:30 on this public
can
hearing.
I come in after the
You can
hearing?
come in after the hearing, yeah.
Oh, yeah, all right. The next one is this. Okay. In looking at the report, there's an area of that report that deals in the strained relationship between the administrative assistant and certain members of the commission and some of the employees. And if you're an employee of the town with a legally established set of job responsibilities involving items involving financial management of the camp, which include but not limited to managing of the cabin rentals, lodge rentals, pavilion rentals, and campground rentals, and ensuring that the correct rates are used in determining the total revenues to be generated by the rentals, and ensuring that all requests for discounts or free use are approved in advance by the Recreation Commission, and preparing the weekly payroll and the processing of accounts receivable and collecting any outstanding accounts receivables, et cetera. It's my opinion, at least from somebody who's managed an office and managed an employee over 35 years, that you cannot engage in conduct that results in errors involving, in some instances, serious errors involved in those responsibilities. Whether the errors were made by you or an individual or a subordinate who you turned over that responsibility to, and you never reported that that was the case. We are all fully aware after the hearing and the report that this indeed happened, and this is very disturbing. I requested the board instruct the personnel manager to consider disciplinary action in that regard in those areas involved in the report which he deems serious enough to warrant that action. Okay? Because I think it's a serious violation. I think if you have a job responsibility and you turn it over to a subordinate, and then it turns out that there's serious errors being made in the rental rates that result in a $35,000 investigative report, then you've got to be held responsible to some effect, whether you did it, or another person did it, or a subordinate did it.
That's a personnel issue though, right?
That's for the personnel manager, he's the
And-
town administrator,
Agreed.
okay? And I have a third one that can wait till after the hearing.
Okay, because we're at 7:29. So with that, I'm going to have to wait a minute, I guess, right? I hear what you're saying, Bruce, on the new system contracts. I think that might be a good idea.
Oh, good, you're dealing with $250,000 in rental revenue coming in.
Yeah,
And to not have that integrated and not be able to take a snapshot in time if you want to see it, how many rentals have been written, how many rentals have been agreed to and signed, and what's your potential for revenues, and what's been paid, what hasn't been paid. Like I said, there's no way that you can look at anything right now and know that all of the rental agreements over there for the past 6 years have either had deposits made on them, or been paid in full, or been paid at all.
okay, let's pick it up. We're at 7:30 in the mark. So I'm calling to order a public hearing notice in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 56. A public hearing will be held in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Town Hall, Hanson, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, November 1st, 2016, at 7:30 PM, for the purpose of allocating the percentage of tax levy to be borne by each class of property for fiscal 2017. All interested taxpayers are encouraged to present oral or written information on their views. This is a necessary hearing which must be held prior to certification for the fiscal 2017 tax rate. And with us, I believe we have our Board of Assessors, right, and Lee?
Mr. Chairman, if I may introduce our assessor appraiser, Lee Gamache, who will introduce her board.
Thank you.
Hi, I think I've been through a classification hearing with all of you at one point.
Last time, yes, I remember.
I didn't think it was gonna be as busy tonight, but so we kind of turn this so people can see it right here. I did send out packets to you gentlemen,
I got it. I forgot this.
on your
got
iPads,
them.
but if you wanna follow through, we're just gonna,
I've got them anyway, Lee.
oh, you got them anyway, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No.
Anybody here?
John's the only one who got the mail.
Oh, okay.
If you could leave it in the front,
Yeah,
just in
okay,
case.
yeah, that's nice.
In case this
In case you
crashes.
wanna
then we
flip
can-
it.
I'm the lucky
Right,
one.
sure, thanks.
It shouldn't have to.
Anybody in the public that wants one? Our board has them. I'd just like to introduce to you the Board of Assessors for the town of Hanson. We have our chairman, Trish O'Kane. We have our clerk, Kathy Keefe, over here, and we have our member, Kathy Marini, here. Again, I'm Lee Gamache, I'm the assessor appraiser for the town. And we're here yearly to go through our classification hearing. In the packets here, on page 2, we have what we're looking for tonight, what we're looking for the board to vote on this evening. Number 1 is going to be whether you're gonna vote to have a uniform tax rate or a split tax rate. 2, whether or not you will adopt for residential exemption, and 3, if you wanted to adopt a small commercial exemption. Page 3, on page 3, it says the graph is listed here. It just shows the percentages of levy for properties in Hanson. As you can see, our residential is our highest class at 91.77%. Commercial, personal property, and industrial, our percent there, it's about 8.23%. Very little commercial industrial. We're definitely a bedroom town. And that's why the board has historically always recommended a uniform tax rate, so that the shift doesn't go on the small amount of commercial property that we do here, but that we do have here. But the shifts here will show you what the scenario would be for the tax rate. We're looking at a tax rate of $15.98 that has not been certified yet, but that's the tax rate that we're looking at. So each scenario will give you, like, there's a 1%, a 5%, a 10%, and a 25% shift that you could give over to the commercial property. And that would,
Shows the
if you were to vote for a split rate on there. Again, historically, the board has always recommended that we keep a uniform tax rate. We want these businesses to come into town.
Do you want a motion on that, or?
Yeah, that's a, that will have to be taken.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to keep them uniform,
Do you want to?
just to keep the business that we have in town here. I don't wanna lose any more than we've lost.
Do we have to go through the entire report first and then go back to the
Normally
page
that's
2?
Well, this
No.
is the first, this is gonna be the first part of it,
Okay.
whether or not you want to vote to.
Do you want to do
keep
the
uniform.
parts? Okay, so this would be item number 1, which is the
Yes.
selecting the residential factor for fiscal year 2017.
Yes,
Can I read the Board of Assessors recommendation?
sure.
The Board of Assessors has consistently recommended a factor 1, meaning that the tax rate should not be split in order to shift more tax burden to the commercial class. So I would entertain a motion to not split, the how do I,
Recommend uniform tax rate.
to keep the uniform tax rate.
So move.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0, ma'am. Lee, next. Item 2?
Okay, page 7, this page 7 is just a 3-year average comparison, so you can see that 2015 up to 2017, you can see that our residential single-family value has increased and is increasingly going up year to year. So we are seeing that our values are rising in that. On our condominiums, we're in a condo boom right now, and people are paying a lot of money for the condos in Hanson, so you can see that the values for the condos are actually, they're also increasing. Our commercial, the commercial properties are losing a little value. Just not a lot of businesses coming in. We did have a couple big businesses a couple years ago, but for the average business, we're not seeing an increase in value on those properties. Page 8. Page 8 has the explanation there for the residential tax exemption. The residential tax exemption is for property owners of Class 1 residential properties who own and occupy their property. A percentage, if you chose to adopt this, a percentage is applied to exempt a tax dollar amount on these residential properties from taxation. Typically, this is adopted only in communities that have a high rate of rental properties, the Boston, Cape properties. Town of Hanson is 98% owner occupied, so really, again, historically, Board of Assessors has also recommended not to adopt the residential exemption. So that would be, we would need a vote on that also this evening.
Was there a question? Oh, that's all right. No. Okay, so I would entertain a motion for Hanson not to adopt the residential exemption.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0. Okay, Lee?
Okay, and the third vote tonight is on the small commercial exemption. It is the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen to decide if the small commercial exemption will be adopted by the town of Hanson. Adoption of this provision does not guarantee a reduction in the taxes that would be passed to the small business owners, as the exemption is applied to the residents. For example, assume Shaw's Plaza is assessed for $999,000, and that each business employed less than 10 employees during 2016. The plaza owner would be the one that would qualify for the exemption, and he's the one that would get the exemption. It doesn't necessarily get filtered down to the business owners, the small business owners there. Every year, the Department of Employment Training sends us a list of all the businesses that have 10 or less employees that we would look at to see who would actually qualify for this exemption. And the town of Hanson has 69 businesses which would qualify for the small commercial exemption if each was situated in the property assessed under $1 million. Some of the ones that we have are over $1 million. 39 of them are home occupations, they would not qualify for the exemption. 15 are occupied, their rental businesses so they would not qualify either for the exemption. So out of the 69, only 15 businesses would actually benefit from the small commercial exemption. Of those 15, if the small commercial exemption was applied to their businesses, then the other businesses are gonna pick up the burden
The
for that
difference?
tax.
I gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, most towns that do adopt this are towns with a larger base commercial, like Rentham, Avon, Westwood, Somerset. So again, the town of Hanson, Board of Assessors has recommended that we don't adopt the small business exemption. So that would be a vote that you would take also this evening.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interrupt, just to solicit, since it's a public hearing, if anyone has any
Are there
comment on
any,
that prior to the vote?
are there any questions prior to the vote on this one? I was gonna say discussion and.
I apologize.
No worries, Mike, my deal. I wouldn't forget it, but this is a public hearing, so we have to make sure that people know that they have the right to ask questions about this, right? This is your taxes, our taxes together. So I would entertain a motion for Hanson not to adopt the small business exemption.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is being made and seconded. Discussion and any questions from the public? Okay, seeing no questions, we'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Not to accept.
Okay, and lastly, this is not something that needs to be voted, but it is the responsibility of the Board of Assessors, myself, just to notify you for the excess levy capacity for fiscal 2007 is at $208,477. Again, a good year with growth, good year with free cash, so.
It has been. We've had a lot of growth in the town.
shows
I've
that
seen a
there is
lot of new
growth.
homes.
Yes, yeah, which is a very nice thing for Hanson,
Yep.
very nice.
And there are a number of condos increases too,
Mhm.
we've seen, right? Sawmill?
Yes, yeah, Sawmill coming on, another section of Stonebridge will be coming on for next year, so hopefully we're gonna continue this pattern with the growth.
We still gotta work on our getting businesses in. Have they
Yes.
filled Shaw's Plaza, that empty store where the old, oh,
Yeah,
Still
but they
vacancies
keep fixing
there.
it up.
still vacant in that one.
Mhm.
And the whole Casoli section too. There's a lot of empty.
A lot of empty there,
There's
too.
a new building that he just built.
I know Green Monkey
Just
Coffee
had the
moved
Snow
out.
blower and lawnmower guy moved out. He's gonna-
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing is empty now.
Thank you, Lee, for
You're
that.
very welcome, so, where we have gotten this far, we do have the excess levy capacity, you can vote to close the classification hearing for 2017.
I would motion to close as stated by Lee.
So moved.
Second.
That way I can't say it wrong, Lee, okay?
You can't keep up with your lead.
Yeah. Okay, discussion. All those in favor? Aye, 5-0. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, and I just want to thank the financial team here, Todd, Amy Sullivan, for just a great team to work with. You know, we're really early in the game of setting the tax rate and everything, and it's due to, just the
Good
help
work.
of all, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. We all work together great as a team, along with the Board of Assessors.
Thank you, guys. Good to
Thank
hear.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Lee.
Appreciate this. Okay, public hearing is closed on this, so I guess we're moving back to the discussion of the board's recommendation. Mr. Young, you were talking about errors, or I think you said errors or personnel issue with regard to work being,
Oh, yeah, I closed that one out. So
Okay.
that would just be my recommendation on that one. So I've had two recommendations so far. My third one is this. This is a ticklish one, really. But I thought I had to bring it up because I did ask the question last week, and I did get the answer, so I'm just reporting this to the board. The report is stated by a labor attorney involved examination of records. The records were listed as the rental agreements, contracts in the system at the Needles Lodge. Well, as I stated, there was no system at the Needles Lodge. The only system was writing the report, keeping it in a file, and then hand-keeping track. So there was no system.
No, it's a system, but it's not
It's not
automated.
what you think of as a system. The payment, at the Needles Lodge, the payment turnovers report, the things they look at was with the rental agreements at the lodge, the payment turnover reports that are stored at the town hall, and the rental rates that were voted and approved by the Recreation Commission and the Selectmen. Those are the three things that they compared and looked at.
Mhm.
This examination came about as a result of an audit that was conducted in 2015 and also information received by interim town administrator Mr. LaCamera in the fall of 2015. It should be noted in the report that there is reference to an ongoing strained relationship that existed between the administrative assistant and certain members of the Recreation Commission, dating back to an incident and even before the incident that occurred at Hanson Day in 2015. This strained relationship was further exacerbated by complaints filed involving alleged violations of the open meeting law, complaints filed by members of the commission and private citizens, and allegations of harassment. Last week, I asked a question that was not asked at last meetings, and it was this, as follows. Who was assigned the task of going through the rental agreements for the past 5 years and coming up with the 49 rentals which were reported in the 31 page documents and the detailed in over 200 pages of documents having deviated from the rate structure, and in many instances involved accusations against recreation members, employees, and relatives and friends of those associated with the camp? The answer I hoped to hear was either a neutral third party, or the labor attorney, or the town administrator. Instead, I must report that the individual was the same employee who had a serious strained relationship with the many people named in the report and members of the commission and some of the employees. I also asked if all rental agreements over the period of the report were reviewed by another party to make sure that those were the only rentals that were in error with the 49 rentals involved in the report. I was told that that did not occur, and there was no such cross-check. So, yes, the possibility does exist that there are many other instances and mistakes and deviations from rental rates and the policies and procedures over that time, of which we as a board and the citizens of Hanson at this stage are unaware. So I would ask at this point that we actually need somebody to go through and ascertain what the magnitude of those deviations are, because I don't think it ends with the 49. It could be 49, it could be 490, it could be 200, it could be 100, it could be none. Those could be I don't think that every one of those other rentals, over the hundreds of rentals rental agreements that occurred over that 5-year period, are correct. In fact, I did go over I just went through some of them today and found at least 10 or 15 in the half an hour that I looked at them, of rates that deviated from the rates that were in effect at that particular point in time. So I just wanted to report that to the board. It was disturbing the way that it was handled. Personally, I wouldn't have handled it that way. I would have got a neutral third party to handle it and go through all of those rentals and ascertain them. But what's done is done. You can't correct it, but you could possibly go through those other rentals to ascertain what was paid, what hasn't been paid, because you really don't know that. You haven't checked all of the rental agreements, which is what I thought had happened, but obviously it didn't happen.
So, to your first point, where basically we need a new system of contracts because
Yeah.
we're not keeping good records, you want to, from your third point, use those same records to do a check of accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that contradict?
What do you mean?
Well, you just said that the records aren't very good, right, the first time, but we're gonna use them to check for
It's
accuracy.
the only
and
way
so
you can do
forth.
it.
Right,
It's tedious, but it has to be done,
right.
I think.
But it does contradict number one.
No, it doesn't contradict it, because number one would be going forward. The third one I mentioned would be going back and making sure that you know exactly how many of those rental contracts were in error and deviated seriously from the intent of the rental rates.
Right.
So
So,
you have no other choice but to.
so you're
do it
looking
the old way.
you're looking for more you're looking more of the 49 items like it.
Yeah, I already know for myself that there's more that exist,
Right.
just from the handful that I went through.
But going forward, we agreed to fix that too, because this board will be notified, right, by any deviation from any price at all,
Yeah,
right?
easy,
Okay,
going forward.
so we fix that now, going forward
Yeah,
as well,
right, yeah.
right?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Mitchell?
I agree with Bruce on one aspect of number one. I think there needs a better system, that you can put something as simple as QuickBooks in place,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, to,
Doesn't even have to be as complicated as.
Right. But as far as, I want to move on with this, all right? I don't want to keep going back and looking into contracts and come up with the same result. We got to move forward with this. And I just don't think spending more time and resources is going to help anybody, you know? We got to move forward and just, it is what it is, you know? But certainly, there's got to be better checks and balances in the future over there. That's my opinion.
Okay,
Is this, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, is this open?
Question?
Discussion?
sure, Mr. Hickey?
Yeah.
Question.
Jim Hickey, Perry Ave. I just want to make sure and I'm not sure if I should direct it to you, Mr. Chairman, or
Through me,
right to
please.
Selectman Young. But my question is, and I do agree with Mr. Mitchell, Selectman Mitchell, that we should move forward, and from this point on, anything that goes on at Camp Kawani should be on this new system where you could just look and make sure that the contract comes in, the deposit is made, the check is what the deposit says. But my problem is with what Selectman Young has dug up within a half an hour, because, Bruce, my original question was to you, do you really want to look through, personally eyeball, 5 years of contracts? Because if I heard you correctly, what you said was the administrative assistant pulled the 49 contracts. There wasn't a third party.
That's correct.
It was the administrative assistant. And what you want to do is go over the past 5 or 6 years and look at every single contract to make sure that it's either signed or the deposit that goes in equals the amount that's on the contract. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and to make sure that the right rates were used.
So in the rates at the time?
Yeah.
So there possibly could be more than just the 49.
I don't know why people don't want me to do that.
I don't understand it myself.
I don't think it was done correctly to begin with. I don't think the right person handled it.
Well,
I mean, I would never have let that person handle it. I would have had a disinterested third party handle it.
I would-
That knew what they were doing, that had some accounting experience.
I would make a reminder too, that we're talking about an employee of the town here, so we have to be careful. of
Well, I
that,
understand that, but
Okay.
if you don't have the person that, I wouldn't have let a member of the Recreation Commission do it, because there was a strained relationship there.
Right. Right.
You shouldn't do it that way. You can't do it that way.
I understand your point, and
That's my only point. I'm
I-
not criticizing the individual that did it. I'm just saying
That
that
you
there's a
wouldn't have done
strained
it that way.
relationship, okay? And that's an understatement, okay? I was the chairman during the time. Saying there's a strained relationship is a complete understatement of what was going on over there. Everybody knows that,
Well,
okay?
Right now, Mr. Howard.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, we're talking about things that were done and completed and it's gone. Can't we just start now,
and
start
move
from
forward?
zero,
Move
and
forward.
move ahead and clear this up?
Yeah, just
Thank
bury
you,
it. Why
Mr.
don't you just bury it?
Well, I mean, to go back records, that's
Because you-
ridiculous to try to
You
collect them.
absolutely never, you don't know from this point in
Gentlemen.
time, and I'm telling you right
Wait a
now,
minute, Bruce,
Hold
I'm
on.
speaking.
if every rental agreement's been paid. I don't know. Who knows?
Bruce, I'd like to make, Mr. Howard has the floor.
No, I just feel that it's been going on long enough now.
Okay,
And I think we ought to start from zero now and
move
just
forward.
correct everything and move forward. The rates are all settled, all set right now, I believe, that they're using. Can't they use those rates and move ahead?
Yeah, the rates go forward, yeah.
Right. Thank
And
you.
you've got somebody here, Jim.
Ms. Frazetti.
Joan Frazetti from Elm Street in Hanson. Last week, well, 2 weeks ago, you voted to pass over and forgive everybody and all the past records. So why would you go back
When was
and,
that done?
you voted on one of the issues that he had suggested. You
One of the
had-
recommendations, yeah.
One of the
What
recommendations.
was the
from-
recommendation you're
One of
talking
the
about?
recommendations
The
from,
second recommendation was to, either you could go ahead and prosecute and make them pay, or you could just forget about it all. If you're gonna go back into all the records, what are you gonna do? Go after the people that didn't pay correctly on
No, I
all
never
of
said that. When did I ever say that?
hold on, Mr.
But
Young.
that's
I
what-
never said that.
But you're
Nobody's
pulling
saying
it
that.
to bring up everything from the past. If you forgave the past for what was on the report, then you need to forgive and forget all the
My whole
past.
point, this whole
No,
thing.
I'm not
understand.
forgiving.
Yes, you are, you're missing
Hold
my
on a
whole
second.
point.
Mr. Young, please.
Well, I'm
Let-
just telling you,
I
that
know.
wasn't the point I made.
I understand, Ms. Frazetti.
But you're rehashing everything
I'm
that.
not rehashing stuff because you don't know what happened,
Mr.
so there's
Young.
nothing being rehashed.
It's all
What
done and
difference
gone,
does it make?
Bruce.
It's in the past. It's
Ms.
gone
Mrs.
by.
Frazetti has the
So let's
floor.
move
She has the right to
forward.
speak.
Not from an accounting standpoint, it's not gone.
All right.
Not from an audit standpoint, it's not gone.
Hold on, if I could offer some advice for clarification. You're right, Ms. Frazetti, we actually, because there was a conflict on the records, right? Because we had somebody here say that they turned in something different from what was actually presented. There seemed a discrepancy there. We claimed we weren't gonna go after anybody who got a rental discount and didn't go through the right procedure, right? But I don't think, but I think what Mr. Young is suggesting is saying that he won't pursue the charges for anybody, but he still wants to know how much of this is a problem, how much more of it is a problem. I mean, we already know it's a problem, right? It's like, you know, you've got a cut, you've got a wound, you know how bad is it, right? That's
You
what
have no
we're
idea
doing.
what the magnitude of this problem is.
Mr. Young, let me speak,
Right,
please. So I think that's where he's just going. He just wants to understand from that perspective. So there is a difference here from what's being said. But your point is well taken. Would you pursue them? And the answer, I think, is no, he would not. Okay.
Yeah, the board already did that.
But still, you're taking up someone else's time that could be going forward and doing something more constructive. Well, are you gonna have to have Labor Council come in again if you pull
No.
up all those old records?
No.
Well, I think,
Not having Labor Council
I think-
come in and do that. He's not an accountant, he didn't even do it in the first place. He had somebody else do it.
we would have to decide what to do.
Attorneys don't do grunt work. They assign their secretaries, they assign subordinates to do it. They don't do grunt work.
Mr. Young, please.
Well, it's true.
Enough, all right? Another question in the back?
I still agree with you.
Hi, my name is Colleen McGrath-Smith. I'm at 143 Union Park Street, and I just want to throw in one quick thought. I come from a background of compliance. I understand what Bruce is saying. I also understand what Ms. Frasetti is saying. The purpose behind a compliance check is simply a historical record, not appointing. It's how you build the framework for the future. I go through all kinds of forensic documents to discover where we made mistakes. Oops, sorry, not to point fingers, but to build a better future.
No, I
So we
understand.
don't repeat our mistakes.
Right.
That's all I think Mr. Bruce is saying,
That's it.
okay? Just build a record so it never happens again.
Right.
Jim Flanagan, Baker Street.
I wish I could
I
finish
just,
that.
everything was pointed at me though. So, and I take exception to that because now everybody wants to sweep it under the carpet, but I haven't got a chance to, being told that there's 3 different secretaries that corroborated it, and now I'm hearing different stories that they don't corroborate.
I don't think there's any story that I've said from anything
Okay,
different.
well-
You have a question, sir?
No, just a comment that I just feel like you want to stuff it under the carpet, but I'm the one that's going under the carpet, I'm getting stuffed under there too.
Right. No, I think we've admitted and know that we have a problem with our record keeping there, okay? We know it. And I understand your point about, if we don't learn from history, we're bound to repeat it, okay? I get that. So we either do a full-blown audit on this with an independent party. That's how typically it's supposed to go. Now you're talking an additional cost of somewhere between, my guess is $5,000 to $10,000, I would say, about that, right? So we could do a full-blown audit and go through every single contract, and then you'd have to go through also the minute meetings to make sure what was voted on it. You'd have to check what's on the schedule, you'd have to check what's on the contracts, you'd have to check what's on with accounting, what was paid, right? This thing could go on for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months.
How far back would you go?
Right, how far back would you go? Would it be 6 years, would it be 10 years, how far back?
You could find
I think-
that stuff was
Right.
not while I was there.
Well,
That would not follow correctly.
I only allow one bite of the apple, please, so hold on for a second. So my point is what? Similar to the Whitman-Hanson cable access agreement, if you remember that, going back, they have an agreement where they do an audit every 3 years, an extensive audit, right? I don't believe we've done an end-to-end extensive audit on Camp Kawani.
Not that I'm aware of.
No. It's a $300,000, approximately $300,000 a year business that the town is running. And whether you believe that the town should be running in the business of doing it or not is irrelevant. We are, and this is where we are. So probably we should be conducting an independent audit in detail on some sort of an average basis. My guess would be 3 years too. I'd probably use the same ballpark number. But again, you're gonna be spending more money on what we're talking about, we've already investigated onto. But I agree that we don't wanna repeat the same mistakes. We've gotta figure out where our policies are lack. We already figured out that things weren't being signed. Now we're making sure that they're getting signed, right, Mike? So, so this is where we're at right now. We can do an independent audit on it for the last 3 years, or you wanna go the last 6 years on it?
3 years.
It could take anywhere from 6 to 8 months. Again, they're gonna have to dig up
Oh, it's not gonna-
recreation minutes to find out what was voted on, right? What was
It's easy.
approved for discount. All of that's gonna have to be done.
That's not gonna take much time.
Yeah, well,
It's
Oh.
gonna take 6 to 8 months to do that. I can tell you right now, from somebody who's involved in accounting for 35 years, it's not gonna take 6 to 8 months, not even gonna take a month.
well, it depends on how far back you go. It depends on where the records are, and what they can find, and what they can't find.
Most of the records right now are sitting right in the accountant's office.
I know, but again, back to your original point, that the record system isn't very good to manage, and it's not gonna be easy to go through. That's why we need a new system.
Well, yeah, you have to you have to know what to look at manually.
So where do we wanna go with this? Question?
Deborah Edgren, Main Street. I guess I'm confused. If you're
I'm
gonna
sorry, could you say it again? Or did you-
It's Deborah Edgren, Main Street.
Deborah.
I'm just confused, I guess. If you're gonna have an audit to check the system that you have in place, wouldn't it make sense to have an audit on it once the system is in place?
A better system, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. You need a
Is that what
better.
you're saying?
I'm saying we're caught between a rock and a hard place here.
I'm
What
sorry?
you're saying.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying we're caught between a rock and a hard place here, right?
You'll have
We
a
wanna-
system
we
in
wanna-
place as we go forward.
As we go
You're not gonna recapture everything that's already been done in the system as we go forward.
Right.
What's done is done. You're not gonna take that 6 years and recapture it into the system that we have right now.
Right.
You're gonna start from day one and then capture the new rental agreements in the new system. So you wouldn't have an audit on that new system until you've got a year or two behind you
Right,
in the
that
new
was my
system.
question.
Yeah.
So the point
You'd
is,
be auditing the old system, which
You-
is a hand-done system.
you'd have to audit it, but according to what Mr. Young said, that system is bad and the records aren't easy to manage, right?
So I guess what would the goal be?
You're
What would the
comparing
goal be
documents to documents.
Well, that's just it. I think that's what we're here to figure out tonight. Because, I don't feel like spending another $10,000 on an audit on this thing. I don't know, that's me personally. I know I'm just 1 out of 5, right? But that's my opinion on how I feel on it. But I also understand the point that we have to learn on what's wrong with it, right? I know that we've talked about the contracts aren't very well written in some cases, right, Mike? They're not easy to see. But that would go back to having on the new system again, right? But maybe what we need is something in the policy or something that says that business should be audited every 3 years at the very least.
The
Right?
enterprise
When?
account.
when, if we do it today, or if we do it 3 years from now, I don't know. But I'm just saying that at least it should be audited every 3 years, right? I'm thinking 3 years, that's my number. Mrs. Laura?
Laura Kemick, State Circle. I understand where Jim Flanagan's coming from, but I think that you did tell the Recreation Commission that at the end of the month, they'd have an opportunity to respond to
Mhm.
some things. So it's not, even though for the purposes of this meeting, maybe people are saying, like, let's move on, they do have an opportunity at the end of the month to talk about it. And as far as the audit, I think that's a great idea. As far as the forensic going back, I don't know how you draw a line in the sand. I do compliance work. A lot of times, you might not want to turn that rock over. You know, if you already kind of know what the problems are, and you do already know what the problems are here, you know there weren't the right checks and balances, you know you didn't have an automated system, and you know you didn't have proper oversight, and all of those things are going to be put in prospectively. I don't know what else you would learn by exhuming all these bodies, but I'd leave that up to you guys to think about. But I think, what is the end goal of going back and spending additional time and resources? I don't think it's going to further our goal of moving forward, getting things on the straight and narrow, and getting them where they need to be.
She obviously wasn't listening to what I said.
No,
Why it should be done. She obviously wasn't listening to me.
I think, listen, enough, no insults from either,
I'm
from
just telling
either
you.
side of the fence.
If she doesn't get it, or
Mr.
somebody
Young,
else doesn't
I
get
find
it,
your
I'm not
comments
gonna.
not very respectful,
Well,
I'm asking you to keep
am I,
yourself.
do I have to
No, you don't,
repeat
sir.
myself
No,
to tell you why I think it should be done?
no, but you should.
I've already done it twice already.
Bruce, please keep yourself in check.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
I'd like to make a motion not to move forward with a full-blown audit for Camp Colony.
For the last 3 years?
Right.
No second.
motion has been made and seconded not to do a full-blown audit for the last 3 years for corporate
For
works.
any past years. I think we need to move forward. We know enough, we need to move forward.
We don't know enough.
So a motion has been made and seconded. Discussion?
Down back.
There's a question? No.
Somebody hit,
I'm sorry.
Kevin Cameron, Partridge Way. I'm just a little bit confused because now the audit that did just occur,
We didn't have an audit.
okay, well, whatever the investigation that just completed.
That was not an audit.
Okay, please, Bruce. Okay.
Mr.
Again,
Young.
let me speak.
Let him finish,
It
please.
wasn't an audit.
Yeah, it's a investigation.
Fine.
Yeah, you said it 3 times.
Whether
Let me
he, whatever he calls it, let him call it whatever he wants.
Okay, the investigation that just concluded, okay, am I to understand that the person who would be responsible for handling the contract, getting them signed, and selecting the ones that were investigated, is the person that pulled those files?
Yes, that's what I
49
told you. I just told you
The
that.
person, Mr. The administrative assistant is in charge of those contracts, right?
And yet she participated in the investigation, she was one
She was
selectively
instructed
pulling.
she was instructed to pull the contracts that were deviating from the regular price. And
Okay.
that's what she did.
And she only came up with 49,
That's what we have, yes.
okay.
That's all I have for you.
Fine.
Yep.
I just having.
That's her job, that's her responsibility, and that's another rock in a hard place type of thing, but that's it, right?
Well,
That's
but
where we're at.
I was a Recreation Commission member, and I can assure you that that is not all of the discounts that occurred, and they were voted on, and they did occur at meetings.
Well, I don't, again, I can't say for certain for myself unless I have it in front of me, right? But the point has been made that the contracts, there's two issues here, right? There's two main issues I see from the report. One is we've got bad contracts, bad record-keeping system, whatever you want to call it. It's done wrong. And you can say whoever does what, it doesn't matter, but that's it. That's a fact, right? The other fact that we had was that we had the use of the facilities that wasn't done appropriately. That's in the report. That was the other issue, right? That's what we see. Things didn't go in front of a vote. Things weren't transparent. That's what we saw on the report. Those are the two basic crux things that I see from this report.
And I understand that the Rec Commission members and the staff will get to respond to that, so I won't begin to pretend to speak for them.
Right.
But I guess my thing would be, it's a flawed report from the outset if she's the person who's allowed to pull those files.
So,
There's an ulterior motive there.
right. Well, if they were the files that they have on record, and they were as accurate as we have them, as we have right now, and they were signed and so forth, if they're not signed, then you're right, I would cause them into question absolutely, right? Because you don't know if somebody made up a contract and threw it in there and said, this is it, whatever. The fact is, you know, how many of the 49 were signed? Maybe that's what we should have asked when the attorney was here, right?
Who's responsible for
Right,
getting those?
that's right. So, but we have what we have, and that's what we gotta go on. Now, we can go back and do what you're suggesting, I guess, right? Which is we do a full-blown audit for the last 3 years out of an independent source, somebody completely different
I'm
from
not
us.
suggesting that at all, I just wanted to have my question answered, you've answered it.
Right.
I just wanted to put that out there, because it just seems that that would be an incredibly flawed investigation if that person.
It's this person's job. If this person doesn't do that or didn't do that, then there's a serious issue there, right?
Cool.
Mrs. Frizzetti.
Okay,
And then I'll take the woman in the back.
Okay, mentioning all that, Joe Frizzetti from Elm Street. The reason is the only reports that she pulled out that were wrong were just all the employees of either the rec commission or of Camp Kawani. It had nothing to do with anybody that was not a member of any of that group.
Right.
So it was kind of one-sided. Now, like he said, that there was other situations that he knows of that people got other discounts. Why weren't those pulled out too? It's just a one-sided report in retrospect, and that's what put everybody under the fire,
Right.
because it
Mr.
was just
Chairman.
one-sided.
But one of the contracts, I think, was West Bloss's mom.
Right, well,
Right,
but
so
but
it's
she's still
relations.
related,
Yeah.
okay? In
So it
other
wasn't-
words, if you look at it, everybody is all either Bloss, the Shipley, Hickey, I mean, Flanagan, I mean, it goes to just, and even Nicole. I mean, it went to all the ones that were concerned with setting the rates and everything else, so, I mean, why wasn't anybody else's
Mr.
fault?
Chairman?
Because he said there were other discounts, though.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Mr.
respond
Young.
to that? You hit the nail on the head. The recommendation of the auditors was not to target particular individuals. It wasn't to target the Recreation Commission. There was nothing in the audit that says that. In fact, I have it right here. This is what the audit recommendation says, okay? And I want everyone to understand this, okay? It says, we noted multiple instances in which groups paid a reduced cost, which was not authorized in accordance with established policies and procedures. We recommend that a secondary review of all contracts signed by the camp to ensure that the contracts conform to established policies and procedures of the Recreation Commission. Where does it say there? Where does it say anywhere there that you should target Recreation Commission members?
I didn't say.
No, I know
No,
that, but
she's
this is the
agreeing.
point I'm making. This is exactly the point. I'm reiterating your point. Where does it say that we're gonna look at Recreation Commission members, we're gonna look at employees, we're gonna look at relatives of employees and Recreation Commission members, and friends of Recreation Commission members and employees? Does it say that anywhere in this recommendation? Okay? Precisely the point that you made, precisely the point that I made originally, that certain people don't want to understand, okay? And that's why you go through, if you don't want to have a full-blown audit to do it, I'll go look at the reports. I'll write them all down. I'll take care of it. I won't charge you anything. How's that?
That's not a conflict of interest?
How is that a conflict of interest? I don't have any financial interest in this.
All right, guys.
I don't have any
There
financial.
was a woman in the back.
Wait a
Sorry.
minute, I reserved that remark. What's my conflict of interest, Kenny? Can you tell me?
Enough.
Really,
Please,
what
Mr.
is it? What's my conflict of interest?
Mr. Young, through me, no more.
Well,
Stop.
he went there.
I understand. But no, we're
What is my conflict of interest?
not going there.
I do
anymore.
not have a financial conflict, a financial interest in what goes on over at Camp Kawani.
Bruce.
I have no relatives on the commission. I am not employed by the commission, okay?
Right.
I do not have a direct or indirect financial conflict with what goes on at Camp Kawani.
Very good.
I know there's certain people that like to think I do because I might be mentioned a numerous amount of times in the history of Camp Kawani that I was told last Saturday by a certain individual that I shouldn't be involved in it because I'm mentioned in Wes's history of Camp Kawani.
Bruce.
Therefore, that disqualifies me.
All right, Bruce.
I should not be allowed to participate.
You've made your point. Now we're moving on, right?
Okay, I just wanted Kenny to know that.
There was a,
Thank you. It's duly noted.
Thank you. Colleen McGrath Smith, Union Park Street.
oh,
And
thank you.
Bruce, I just wanted to offer my services for free. I am a person who loves Kiwani, never had one single minute of time to stop what I was doing in my career and being a mom, to be able to join one of those commissions. If you want someone to look at the papers and tell you, okay, A, B, C, D squared, A, B, C, D triangle, okay, set the triangles aside. That's all we want to do, is to read every piece of paper, separate the stuff that's perfect with signatures and the other stuff that's junk. Because if it doesn't have everything, if it doesn't have a signature, legally, no lawyer's gonna call it a document.
A contract.
So that's my suggestion. And I further suggest that all these families who have been named in these reports and graciously been patient through all these months be offered some sort of, in long run, when the policies and procedures are built, that they be offered some sort of a lifetime discount for their families. I'm asking for a thought of consideration for the people who have put their
I'll take an
lives
apology.
into this.
I appreciate it, but I'm not looking for any office. I just want to stick to what's on the fact sheet.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, that's one of the-
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we vote, there is a motion on the floor
Yes, there is.
to not look back.
Yep.
If that motion is passed, you just closed out looking at anything beyond the 31 or however many pages that the labor lawyer has in his report, because you can't look back at anything that was done before.
But
Be careful about making that kind
No,
of motion.
I think what they're talking about, in reference, what they're talking about is a full-blown audit, okay?
My understanding was not to look back, that's the
Just
motion.
my understanding was a full-blown audit.
That's what the motion said.
You said, somebody was saying 3 years. But I'd
That's
just like to make one statement before we vote, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
And that is this, okay? Regardless of whether the Board of Selectmen votes whether they wish to do that or not, those are all public records that are sitting right in the
That's
the
right.
accountant's office. If that lady there wants to volunteer her services without the Board of Selectmen, she has a right to go in there, she has a right to look at those public records, she has a right to do a compliance audit on whether everything has been taken care of, whether those rates match, whether there's been deposits made, whether those have been paid in full, whether they match up to all of the turnovers that are in the stored over here in the town, and then she can make that public if she wishes.
Because
as a
they're all
private
matter of
citizen.
public record.
She can do it, they're all matter of public record.
Right.
So no matter how we vote, okay, it's inconsequential. The only thing you don't have is the Board of Selectmen's blessing. Amen.
Does everybody understand that? Yes? So these are public records requests. You can go in, I don't know if you can look at the original documents. We have copies here.
There's copies over
We
there.
have copies.
What we are doing is we're making sure that they're copies of the original. So there's copies at Kiwani and there's copies, there should have always been copies
Here.
at the, with the
Right.
the accountant. So
Okay. Okay.
copies of any contract, not just this.
Of this, right.
Yeah.
This woman in the back, sorry, Ms. Frisbee.
Chris Cameron, Partridge Way. We've beat this dead horse for a long time now. We're gonna give Jim and people a chance to speak at another time. Let's move on. You know what's the right thing to do and what we have to do to proceed to get in line with everything the selectmen do, everybody who works there. Let's vote for these people who still want to bring Camp Kawani to the place it is. And
Well, right.
Let's go.
I'll make
Let's
clarification. We're not
stop.
letting anybody speak for anything, because the attorney tried to interview people, and he was shut off during various times, right? So make it clear. If we're gonna move on, we're gonna move on, right? So there's a motion on the floor right now
Conflict is.
to not look back or not do an audit, I would say. Is that correct, Mr. Mitchell? Was not do a
I have a motion
full-blown,
and a second not to conduct an audit of any kind.
Not
is
to
how I
conduct
put it
an
in the
audit of
minutes.
any
They
kind for the
talked
last-
about years, and then they just left it at any. So, right now, the motion is
not to conduct any
by
past
Mitchell,
audit?
second by Howard, not to conduct an audit of any kind. If you want to, if I got that wrong, tell me.
That's right.
That's it, and it was been seconded by Mr. Howard, right? I mean, I personally would like to see something probably for the last 3 years. If I'm running a business, I want to see what's going on it, okay? But I also understand the point that I just want to move on from this, because we've got other business that we want to get done in this town. And we focus so much time and energy on this, too much in some cases, right? Mr. Flanagan, please. All right? Mr. Frizzetti.
My only objection is that you limit it 3 years, because you had other, that's only gonna put you under one administrative assistant. You need to go back to all of the other two that were also identified in this report. So
If
you
we
have
go
to go back to that time, which I think was what, 2010? That they started it with, so you'd have to go back to 2010 to do any kind of a research, to get it true, to see who did what, how they did it, and what differences there were in the handling of the administrative assistant position.
I understand. So motion has been made and seconded. I would call all those in favor.
Mr. Chairman, is there discussion? I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
Chairman, is there
we're
discussion
moving-
on that or no?
We're moving on, Mr. Hickey. Okay?
Discussion is not to have any kind of audit, right?
That's what's on, that's the motion. Mary, could you read back the motion, please? Sorry, Mary. I believe it was not to conduct an
Not to
audit.
conduct an audit of any kind.
Not to conduct an audit of any kind.
That
And
kind
simply
of,
move forward.
that kind of motion is a very
Mr.
serious
Young.
mistake.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? 3-2, motion carries. Again, they're a matter of public record, right, Mr. Young?
Public record, yeah?
Okay, next item I have on here is the application for appointments, recreation. I do want to state for the record that I want to make clarification here, so bear with me for a moment. Just gonna get out of this. We have information from our legal counsel on the resignations that were submitted. Here it is. From our legal counsel, you have asked me about the process for resigning of municipal officers. In short, per general law, chapter 41, section 109, resignation is accomplished unilaterally by the submission of a notice of resignation or a suitable writing of any kind by the resigning party. That resignation must be filed with the town clerk. Relatively, a resignation need not be accepted by the appointing authority to be effective unless a resignation notice sets forth a public future date for the resignation. It is effective upon the date of its submission. So that's what we got from our legal counsel. So what I'm trying to say here is that regardless of whether this board accepted it couple months ago, those resignations have occurred. All right, so what we would have to do is we would have to see those folks reapply. Are there any questions?
Have they reapplied?
They would have to reapply once,
Have they reapplied?
I don't know. They would have to fill out an application, right?
What's this application for appointments here?
Well, then we have two, well, that's on Janet Aegis, how do you pronounce it, Janet?
Janet Aegis.
Aegis, right?
She's reapplied?
Tricia Dransfield and Sheila Morris, so you guys would have to reapply, does that make sense? Well, you must have applied in order to be appointed, right?
We asked to be, the letter we sent you, we asked to be reappointed.
Application for
I think you
reappointment.
asked for the rescinding of your resignation.
Well, we said the rescinding or
She's talking about the email from last week.
Reappointment, I understand what you're saying. So you're saying, because because we advised you with Mike, that basically this would be your application again, correct? Okay. And then we have an application also from Audrey Flanagan and from John Mahoney. I see Audrey here, and where's John? Right there in the background,
We
so.
haven't opened the window up for applications yet, have we?
We have not opened up the window for applications yet. Mr. Mitchell just put the question out there.
I was aware of.
I believe that the board at some point in time alluded to its wish to reconstitute the board, and I think that's what these individuals are responding to.
I think we need to open it up for everybody, give it a time limit.
I think,
With all the members, you're gonna have to give at least 30 days and get all the applications and have everybody apply and come in before us. This is what I would suggest.
30 days?
hold on, I've got a number of
Can I
questions.
say that this has been on the selectmen's announcements every week since September 9th, so it's been 2 months that it's been announced that there are openings for recreation.
I, personally, I'm sorry, there's another question?
Only that I resigned on August 9th,
Mhm.
and then Audrey Flanagan had just mentioned that it has been on, since September meeting, so it has been 2 months.
Okay, well, I'm speaking for Brian at this point in time, he was the same address as I do, but you had given them as an answer to the report that they would have 30 days until the end of November. How can you assess it on the committee on there until all the finalization has come from that report? So I suggest that it be tabled, I think they suggest that it be tabled until you've dealt with all the issues at hand.
Thank you, Ms.
What's
Frizell.
done there?
And then have everybody reapply, and then by that time, the 30 days will be up and go from there.
Thank you, Ms. Frizzetti. Janet?
The reason why we reapply or ask to be reappointed is if you want to have a director up at the camp by January 1st, the longer you wait, you're not gonna have anybody up there January 1st. You'll be lucky if you have somebody there by June,
Why is that, Miss?
because you have to advertise, then you have to interview. All of that takes time, and now we're getting into what? Thanksgiving is in about 3-4 weeks, and then Christmas follows right after it.
Right,
You're not gonna have a lot of time to get somebody and somebody good.
right now, the commission is being driven by our town administrator because the board stepped out, right?
Right.
So he would be acting on behalf of that. He would hire that person. He would do the advertising, just like we did for the highway. He would do the hiring on it, because he's acting on behalf of the commission. That's my understanding. If I'm mistaken, please somebody let me know.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on for a second. He said it first.
Mr. Chairman, I had made the point at the time that came up at the meeting when you resigned in the first place, and I said, how would all of this take place in hiring the recreation director? And I had made the statement, because people were concerned that they wouldn't be involved in it. And I brought that up at the time, that whenever a person that works under a commission, a committee, or a board in the town is hired, normally either the commission chairman or 2 people on the commission meet with the town administrator. They go through and they draft a copy of the advertisement to be put in the register and advertised. And they come up with the hours that they think they're gonna need that particular director for, and what that advertisement is gonna look like.
Mhm.
And a person from that board sits with the town administrator just like the highway surveyor sat with the town administrator during the interviews for the gentleman that we just appointed down at the highway department. And they make a recommendation to the full board. That's the way it's always handled. That's the way it's been handled. That's the way it always should be handled.
Well, we've not
And
been.
so that's, you
I
need
understand- I
a
understand.
recreation commission in order to participate and work with the town administrator to have a director in place by January 1. And so, and we also said at that meeting, and the town administrator stated it, that he doesn't want to be in that position any longer than he has to. And he wants a recreation commission in place so he can move on with the things that his priorities that he has on behalf of this board, and turn it back over to the Recreation Commission. And that's what we should be doing. We should be appointing these people tonight to come back on the board and move forward with it. The report's over. The other thing is supplementary, secondary, what's gonna happen when they report back to us, and somebody might have some problems with the report that they want to have rectified. But that's secondary. We should report, the priority should be to appoint the Recreation Commission members back on that board and get on with it.
This is Andrea Watts on Perry Ave. It's a 7-member board, correct? So you have 5 people here who are willing to go on it now. That still gives you 2 positions for the general public. If this has been advertised as it has for 60 days, and you've got 5 people now, then you still have 2 places left for the future for other people to submit their names. Why wouldn't you go with a partially reconstructed commission and you still have 2 places left for the future? I mean, go with the 5.
I was voted in this position by the people, right? Everybody here was. I took it upon myself to vote for certain people to be on that commission as well, right? When you're a public servant, you owe a responsibility to the public, not your self-interests, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If I'm to resign, I should be doing it for just cause. I should be resigning because of either health reasons, work, whatever the situation, just cause, right? Making a statement, in my opinion, is not just cause. And in my personal opinion, I think resigning simply to make a statement was a self thing, self item on it. Now it's my turn to speak, and I'm saying my position on this. Yes, that's how I feel about it, regardless of whether you agree with it or not, with all due respect. All right? I've got, we offered, and you can watch, we can call up on YouTube if you'd like to see the other meetings on what happened. And honestly, no. No. In my personal vote, with all due respect to you folks, is no. I would not put you back on this board. Because when it's been hard on me, and it has been hard on me, right?
But how on everybody?
It has been hard on everybody up here on this board, but I haven't seen anybody here yet offer their resignation on it. Because I committed to a time to serve, just like these guys did. Good or bad, right or wrong, whether I like it or not, doesn't matter, right? That's it. That's my opinion about public service.
Mr. Chairman?
I think right now I want to take somebody different.
Well, I'm different.
You are that.
Sheila Morse, I'm not sure if you remember, Mr. Chairman, but you called me up to the table, and Mr. Mitchell, I'm sure you can attest to the conversation, because the 3 of us had it. And at the time that Jim had his outburst, you asked if us 3 agreed with him, and I said no. And you said to me, I don't know what to do here. Do you all feel the same? I said, we do not. You asked me, would we like to put this, table this for now, and we would get back to this later. I said to you, we would appreciate that, and that's how it was left, that's how we all left the meeting then.
We didn't table the resignations. Once you gave, in my opinion, and what I'm trying to tell you is that the attorney said, once you gave the resignation, that's
Yep.
it.
Yep, I understand that.
We didn't
Okay.
know that at the time I said this, right?
Okay. And then, later on, through other meetings, we were told that we were to write a letter, which we did, we followed your procedure, and now you're saying that we have to refill out applications?
In my opinion, I think you
Each
should
time
refill
we
it out,
come
yes.
Here, we have a different procedure?
I think you're going to have to reapply, okay?
Okay.
Because we've been accused of bad record keeping
Yeah.
from a different perspective, all right? I want to see the application on it, that's what I'm thinking on.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I understand if the board, and I appreciate if the board wishes to go in that particular direction in terms of a reapplication form, but Jan did come to me with that letter signed by the 2 other members, and they were under the impression, and I corrected Jan, and I think the 3 members did accept the fact that by submitting their letter, not to the board, but to the town clerk, that was when officially you were off that board. And what I had said to them at that time was I would ask the board to consider the letter that basically requested the pulling of your resignation, to put that before the board as a letter of request for reappointment. So I want to make sure, and the board certainly is within its power to ask these particular three members to go through that additional process, but I want to make sure that the three members know that that was presented to the board, and the board recognizes that. If they wish to go through that additional procedure, I mean, that's up to the board, but again, I want to make sure that the board is aware and you are aware that conversation did take place.
Was it before
Why can't we?
the attorney?
You can act on those.
Was it before the attorney's?
Well, it was after the attorneys, after we were made aware of the fact that the attorney had told us that their resignation, when presented to the town clerk, that was that.
Okay.
And they recognized and they accepted that, if I'm not correct.
Yep.
But again, when they presented that and I explained that to them, I said I would present that letter to the board as a request for reinstatement, reapplication, not the rescinding of your resignation. So again, if the board wishes, and it's the board's decision, and I'm not going to take a position on it one way or the other, if the board wishes these three members to go through the additional process of filling out the application, that's up to the board, but.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, that's just a decision on behalf of the board, but, in good faith, we had that conversation and it was presented to the board, hopefully with the understanding of, under the auspices of the discussion we had.
The problem I see with it though, Mike, is that if we do this, then we'd be guilty ourselves of what we're charging bad records for, right? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not arguing one way or the
Bad
other,
records.
I just want to make sure that, the conversation that we had,
Yep, I understand.
everyone understands what was explained.
Mr.
Yeah,
Howard.
Jim, no, I had my packet today Mary gave me, and there's applications here to be reinstated. It
Yes.
says, I don't see why there's any reason they can't be, Jim.
I'm not saying that they can't be either. I'm not saying, I made a statement, folks, the statement that I made earlier, that was me, only me. Okay, so to explain to you why my vote will be the way it is, just me, 1 out of 5. The fact that our legal counsel has said that the resignations are accepted and are resigned, that's it, they're resigned.
Well, these
Now,
are,
if we're going to use are those,
these are new applications that are in the packet.
this is not an applicant, this one, Audrey Flanagan's is, yes, but I don't see any other ones. This says application for appointment, right?
We have the original applications for appointment. Why would they have a letter saying they want to come back, they want to be reappointed? I mean.
Listen,
it's
okay, I'm just saying to you, you
technicality.
can't resign. We have one there, yes, I agree. John, did you fill one out?
I didn't fill out an application, I sent a letter, that's what I was told to do.
All right.
I sent a letter requesting.
Okay. Am I not mistaken, Donnie, I got my copy here.
No, I didn't. think
I don't have it, Donnie only has the written one?
Yeah.
Okay, Donnie, let me
Yours
say this
should be
again.
on the iPad.
It is on the iPad.
So you should have the application from Audrey with an email,
They're all on the iPad.
John's letter,
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
letter from,
Mr. Chairman, the agenda says applications for appointment, recreation, Audrey Flanagan, John Mahoney, Janet Agius, Tricia Dransfield, and Sheila,
Ages.
I'm sorry,
Donnie, let me see your paperwork.
Tricia Dransfield and Sheila Morse.
That's all I got, Jim.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's right
Giving
there.
notice to the public that there's gonna be recommendations and possible vote on appointments tonight. There it is, right there.
So this is what I'm seeing as an application for appointment, okay? This is the document that you go and you fill out and say, I want to be on this board or whatever it is, right? Okay, I have one. I have Audrey Flanagan's here, right? I understand you folks were told a different thing. I understand, right? You were told that the letter would be accepted as this application. I get it, all right? You too, I suppose, right, Mr.
I
Mahoney?
sent a letter, I haven't filled out an application.
Right, okay. Well,
The letter's not accepted?
I tell you, I would prefer that you guys do this, but we can certainly do it afterwards, I think, as long as they do it. I'd like to do it, because again, I don't wanna be accountable for bad record keeping either, okay? And I think, I don't know, maybe 6, 8 months, 10 months from now, or a couple of years from now, somebody might say, well, what happened, right? We'll see. So I've got some questions, Mr. Leonard.
Yeah. I've never been to one of these, Tim Leonard, Birch Park Drive. I've never been to one of these meetings before. I think you've done a great job in terms of, hey, you know, we're not gonna go through this audit, because really, who needs to do that at this point? You've made a great decision to enhance your accounting procedures in the future. Sounds good, you're all good, it sounds like you're moving in the right direction. But you got a bunch of people that wanna help you out, and they're eager to do it. Why not just let them do it?
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
I've never been to a meeting before. I've been living in town for 22 years. Right? But I'm thinking, wow, if you guys had a real crisis on your hands,
Tim and I
it'd be
used to,
awful.
Tim and I used to coach
It's a
baseball.
recreation commission.
Tim and I used to coach baseball, right?
Yeah.
We used to coach baseball, that's how I know.
It's recreation.
How's Coop doing? I see the
Very
pictures.
good,
He's
thank
doing good weight in Washington, that's
Really?
terrific. It's presenting.
Me again. But my only suggestion is, can we table it for 2 weeks so it gives all the ones who want to reapply for the position the chance to fill out the application?
Give them the.
No, it's not. It's going from ground zero. If I want to go on to
She
the
has the
committee,
floor. Ms.
I
Frazetti,
have to apply and go through the proper procedures. Well, it's the same thing. They resigned, now they want to come back. So if they do, they need to follow the procedures of going over again and starting from scratch. That's all. Not stopping them from doing it. All it is a piece of paper that they can go online and do.
right. Thank you. This lady.
My name's Tricia Dransfield, George Street. You appointed me in January for the position. I didn't fill out an application, that's what, I'm just saying, but I did write a letter of appointment.
Shame on us.
No, I'll fill, it's just when you say, but I just wanna say, when it's been respectfully very difficult for you, I was appointed unknowingly, not knowing that there was a investigation going on, controversial issues. I was sideswiped at a selectmen's meeting, and I sent you a letter telling you how I felt. It was truly how I felt. I was disappointed and just in the
I
community. And I
what-
went out and I
what-
did my work with the commission. I got 3 bids, and when are we gonna find out? Well, we can't, there's an investigation. And every meeting, in June, I said, I don't think I'm doing nothing. I'm not being effective. I can't get anything done with this Trish, if you can just hang in there, they're gonna wrap it up. This'll be wrapped up by the end of the summer. The end of the summer comes, I'm still going to meetings, doing nothing. I'm not, so resigning, I got to a point where we weren't being effective. I couldn't do anything. So I'm not saying you didn't give me a choice, but, and going forward, you know, from my perspective, I look at it that you knowingly appointed me, I'm not saying you intentionally, but I knew nothing. I was an unknowing resident that came to volunteer. You, the elected officials, knowingly appointed me. And if we learn anything from this, no resident that wants to help and volunteer and have a passion for a venue in town should be put in that position.
Absolutely. I can tell you personal experiences, I could tell you experiences from the town when I ran Galaxy Soccer Club. And I could tell you the various departments that I went through and the difficulty that I went through. And I can tell you, ma'am, honest to God, I can tell you how many times I wanted to just quit and give up on it. Personally, absolutely, I was sick of it. I was dealing with hard things. I had to go do tons of things on it. Get my license, go, all the nitty-gritty stuff, everything through it, right? But I looked at who I was doing it for, right? Was I doing it for me? No, not really. I was probably doing it for the kids. And if I just gave up on it, then yeah, things would have happened, right? If I just gave up on it. But I didn't. I stuck it through. Now, I am not saying everybody's the same way. I get it, okay? I know. And by the way, my position, what I'm saying to you is, I'm not trying to say that you guys are guilty, Bruce. Try to look out that way, okay, brother? The point I'm trying to get here is that I understand what you said. At that meeting, we offered, and I said, I'm not sure what to do here, and I didn't know what to do here. We're still winging it, because I still don't have it. There's no instruction manual on how to move forward with this. But doing the best we can on it. So, I'll leave it to this board to put up to a vote. I'll entertain a motion. I'd like to move on for it because we've got other business.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we appoint these 5 individuals: Audrey Flanagan, John Mahoney, Janet Aegis, okay, Tricia Dransfield, and Sheila Morse, to the Recreation Commission forthwith.
Motion has been made.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded.
Can we have another motion prior to that?
Yeah.
No?
We voted already on the motion, didn't we? That was the audit one, right? We voted on that one, Donnie. I can understand how you get lost, because God knows I do too. So, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? 2. All those against? Motion carries. 3-2.
What's that?
The motion carried 3-2. Without appointing.
No, it fails.
Failed. Motion failed, carried, didn't carry.
It failed to carry.
Failed to carry, forgive me.
Failed to carry.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
No more on this, no. I'm saying no more on this, please. Mrs. Flanagan, no more on this, please. We're going to recess, 5 minutes.
I know my paperwork. I'll get it.
Yeah,
I know you don't want to drag that on and on.
Sure.
Okay, she's on.
Now we're on, we're back in session. Mr. Scott?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, please. Our minutes will reflect back 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, this committee voted to give 30 days for the members of the rec committee to reach out with their concerns and their questions or their objections. And for us to move forward, why I voted no on that tonight was, for us to move forward, we're actually putting the cart ahead of the horse. I want to hear the results of that to see whether or not that changes anything, and it may or it may not. And then, what we should do then is consider applications. And all due respect to everybody and not getting involved with any personalities in any way, everyone that applied should be considered. And I certainly would do that. I think if we do it tonight, we're not moving forward as we said that we were going to try to do. So I would make, I mean, not a motion, but say that we stick with our original agreement, as this board did. It was 30 days. See what the result of that brings, and see how we can resolve that, and then consider appointments. And again, no disrespect to anybody that has or has not applied.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Young?
one has nothing to do with the other, as far as I'm concerned, and I disagree with Mr. Scott. One has nothing to do with the other. The appointments to the Recreation Commission have nothing to do with what these people are gonna come in with in 30 days. I don't see the correlation between the two.
All right.
I really don't.
That's fine, but we're entitled to our opinion, right or wrong.
Well, I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to state that.
I understand. Next thing I have is a request from the Watershed Action Alliance request to use Camp Kawani. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
This is Donnie, you might know some of these people, I don't know. On Tuesday, we got an email from Miss Dory Stawley.
Yes, I had a conversation with her this morning, Mr. Chairman, this afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Mike, would you give us a quick fill-in?
Yeah, I had a conversation with this individual who represents this particular Watershed Action Alliance of Southeastern Massachusetts. She has requested, or I should say the organization requested, the town's consideration in some sort of an adjustment to the cost to hold a one-day seminar, a one-day conference at Camp Kawani. As we've discussed, and it was highlighted to a certain degree even this evening, we want to make sure that going forward, there's a certain procedure that's followed. Whereas I am standing in the place of the Recreation Commission for the time being. And I think going forward, the Recreation Commission, when it gets back up and running, these sorts of requests should find their way ultimately to the Board of Selectmen for final approval. I told the individual that I would bring this before the board this evening. My understanding is the cost for such an event for a nonprofit for the entire day is $1,000. I'm not necessarily sure that the board is or should be inclined to waive the $1,000. And the individual would be happy with any consideration the board would like to give. It does seem to be, and Dawn may have some information on this as well, as you indicated, this does seem to be an organization that does have some benefit to the town of Hanson. Two different committees, two different organizations actually sit on this board or are active on this in this commission. The Taunton River Watershed Alliance and the North River Commission. That being said, I did indicate to the individual, and the individual was happy to wait on this, that I would recommend, since this is the first such request we've gotten since we've had these sorts of conversations, that the board direct me to put together a form that an individual or a committee or a commission or a group can fill out and submit to the board. So everything is pretty much standardized. So I would ask the board, although I am in favor, I would recommend the board give some consideration to giving this particular organization a discount or what have you. I would recommend at this point that the board take this under consideration and direct me to put together a request form, which I can do probably in a couple of days, give it to this individual or this organization, have them submit it to me, give it to the board, and the board act on this at its next meeting, just so everything is formalized. My understanding is sometimes there would be a verbal request, sometimes there'd be a written request, sometimes there'd be an email, just so everything is standardized.
So we have the Watershed Action Alliance of Southeastern Mass, right? Coalition of 12 nonprofit watershed and pond associations.
And if the board wishes to act this evening, certainly, and we could maybe retroactive the request through the form, but.
Did they pick a day, Mike?
Yeah, they're looking to have their event I think it's in March. Yeah,
That may
middle of
actually be in your packets, maybe.
middle of March, I believe.
Not necessarily on the computer, so that way.
Computer?
Well, actually, Mike had,
That's okay, I think we
Mike
have,
had given it to you.
March the 16th. I had actually put an additional last-minute piece of information in each one of your
When did
boxes
they-
upstairs. The 16th of March.
when do they need to know by, Mike?
Within the next couple of weeks. She seemed to be comfortable with knowing a decision at the board's next meeting 2 weeks from now.
Donnie, do you know these people?
No. Well, I've been reading it tonight.
Yeah, no, I thought it's a Watershed Action Alliance, I wasn't sure if Monpont was.
No.
Okay, so, we have I'd like to entertain a motion. Mike, my gut feeling tells me we should probably just hold off on this for the next meeting, possibly. Could we do that?
Yeah, and that's my,
Would that
that's
be
my
okay?
initial recommendation. Again, the board, obviously, will
Give
do
plenty
whatever
of
the
time,
pleasure of the
don't we?
board is,
Yeah.
but
March.
we could get back to it, and
Yeah.
again, I explained that to the
Just tell them
organization,
what-
they're comfortable with.
Would you gentlemen be okay with that?
I was reading here further, for instance, Plymouth Plantation waived the facility use fee for us and in return received publicity and the partner in this event, so I don't know what that means basically, but they got the Plymouth Plantation for nothing, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think what they're saying is that they put it out there that how great the camp is, and it actually helped increase business, Donnie.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't
understand
disagree.
that.
Yep. So,
But again, in the interest of formalizing and having everything, the same for everyone going forward, and
Good idea.
obviously, this is the first instance since we've gone through what we've gone through.
yeah.
And we haven't really had occasion to think about how we would deal with these sorts of things going forward, whether it be through me, whether it be through a new commission.
Could we table it to November 15th?
Yeah, I don't think that'd be an issue at all.
I'd entertain a motion to table the Watershed Action Alliance request to use Camp Kawani until November 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. I think we've all had enough of Camp Kawani tonight. Next item I have is old business. Review update policies, complaint allegations of misconduct and equal opportunity. So we have a complaint policy in place, which reads, and I read it to you folks out there, citizens with inquiries or complaints shall first be directed to contact the appropriate department or committee in writing. The committee shall answer the inquiries or complaints in writing within 2 weeks. If the inquirer isn't satisfied with the response or has further questions, a dialogue at that time with the town administrator in accordance with the Town Administrator Special Act. Section 3, subsection W, receive and act on questions or complaints filed with the Board of Selectmen or the Town Administrator and report back to the Board of Selectmen regarding resolution of complaints or questions. No official or town committee shall challenge another at a public meeting without giving the official or town meeting the courtesy or time to gather any necessary materials to answer the challenge. This was resolved by the Board of Selectmen on July 22nd, 2008, and it was originally accepted on August 10th,
I
1993.
have a recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
You have a recommendation, Mr. Young?
Yeah, I think the person that makes the complaint should be the person who's directly involved in the complaint, or if that's a minor, it should be the parents or the guardian involved in the complaint.
I would agree.
Other than that, so you can't have other individuals filing complaints on behalf of somebody.
That would be a good change. That's the change I think we would propose, Mike. Can we work out the language on that? You wanna
Certainly.
fight it?
I really don't need a vote, I guess. If it's a consensus of the board, I can amend
Unless it's a minor.
to,
Yeah, unless it's a minor, then it'd be the
Unless
parents
it's a
or the
minor,
guardian.
Right.
yeah, hearing Selectman Young's input, I'll put those sorts of amendments in, and we can have it before the Board of Selectmen for, adoption of the amendment, the amended policy next meeting.
Did
That's
somebody have,
easy enough.
did somebody have a question on this? Did you have a question on this?
No.
Okay. I think, I agree with it. So basically what we're saying here is that if you're gonna file a complaint, that you have to be directly related or relevant to the complaint party that's going on, right?
Understood.
Unless you're, and obviously if it's my son or daughter, right, relationship, then obviously I can certainly write that up as well.
Yeah.
I think the general consensus is an agreement to that. Would you, I know you proposed it, Mr. Young. Mr. Howard, would you agree to something like that? Sure. Okay. Thanks for coming tonight, Donnie, we appreciate that.
Busy reading.
I think I'm in agreement to it. Kenny, you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right, so you got the go-ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I get the marching orders, I'll
Thank
take care of it.
Next item we have is the town possession report and potential action. I think we have that in our packets.
The other thing we have, Mr. Chairman, is a minor amendment to the equal opportunity policy. It's just a slight amendment to put the addition of some new protected classes since the board last adopted this. Just keeping up with changes in the law, and one of the things that I had been tasked with, and I'm happy to do in my goals and objectives, is to make sure that I review most of the policies and make sure they're up to snuff. And so this is just a minor.
What change happened in this one?
It should be in italics.
Is it in the bold print up top?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Where it says
Just additional classes that are now recognized as protected.
participation in discrimination, complaint-related activities, for example, retaliation, sexual orientation, genetics, or active military or veteran status. Okay. So it's just adding additional class.
Yes.
Do you need a vote on this, Mike?
Yes, actually, I do. I need a vote to adopt that.
Motion to accept the changes as stated in the policy report.
I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
Second. Motion to accept the changes as stated in the policy report. Motion to accept the changes as stated in the policy report. Second. Motion to accept the changes as stated in the policy report. Motion to accept the changes as stated in the equal opportunity policy statement to show the participation in discrimination complaint-related activities, for example, retaliation, sexual orientation, genetics, or active military or veteran status, be added to that policy statement.
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
5-0. Next is the town possession report. Right now, town possession report and potential action, Mike?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the board has been interested in quite some time in terms of moving forward on the auctioning off, the selling of some properties that were brought before the board a few months ago. So to obviously reap some one-time savings and put them back on the tax roll. The policy in the town of Hanson, and actually it's something I will come before the board with sometime in the future. There's some things I'd like to clean up. But that being said, I put before you, and hopefully you picked that up in your boxes this evening. The policy is, and it makes sense, that once the board recognizes properties that it wishes to move forward with in terms of an auction.
It's a spreadsheet. That's it. Nope. You really press it. Undo your finger. And look back in. There we go.
We then pass them out to the appropriate boards for comment as to their feelings about the dispensation of those particular properties. You'll see that I have given you a spreadsheet with department comments to the far right. Dependent upon the board's action this evening, and which of these properties we might retain, which of these properties we might pull off of the auction block. I had a discussion, actually as recently as today, with the person that I think that we would go forward with in terms of moving forward in going to these auctions. So, to make a long story short, you approve what you want to sell this evening, and within the next couple of days, so I'll get the ball rolling so that it gets to auction.
Okay.
As you can see, there were some departmental comments on the right. The property on Quan Street, which doesn't surprise me, we've had 4 different boards ask that we hold that particular property. So I would recommend that the board
Hold off on
hold off
Street.
on that particular piece of property. The Conservation Commission has, on its own, recommended that we hold off on 3 additional pieces of property. I annotated to the brevity that I could in the spreadsheet, the first of the 2, and the third of which was a little too lengthy, their explanation, and you'll find that in an attached piece of paper. And the property on Brook Bend, I recommend pulling that per the Board of Assessors. There's some, we put that out there originally to the board at its vote a couple of months or so ago, and there are some issues that the Board of Assessors brought to my attention that warrant it being pulled.
Okay.
I guess in terms of what the Conservation Commission is asking, that really I think should be up to the discretion of the board. They recommend holding one of the lakeside properties because it's shorefront property and they would like to retain it. Obviously, shorefront property is probably worth a decent amount of money if we sell it. There is another piece of property, the next piece of property. There's apparently a permanent stream that goes through it with some fish that the Conservation Commission has some concerns over, some interest in. And again, I'll refer you to the second piece of paper, the attached piece of paper, and the third piece of property. Intermittent stream, drainage system, things of that nature. I guess I don't need to read it to you. But obviously, when we move forward on any of these pieces of property, they will be sold or they will be advertised with restraints on them per the board's mandates, that certain things can and can't be done on them, and the buyer will need to be aware of whether it's buildable, whether they can do certain things. I think a lot of these, not a lot, but a decent amount of these pieces of property would only be of interest to abutters just to enhance their holdings. Some of them, again, are not buildable.
But there's,
So I
So
leave it to the
basically, from the list, we only have 4 properties that are basically not in department concerns, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Young.
but there's other properties besides these, right?
Yeah, and actually, there aren't any properties that have been brought before the board yet, but the thought process is that.
Take a few at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there are more that
In
will
other words,
be
you don't
identified.
want to flood the market all at once, right?
Yeah.
That's your thinking,
Well-
correct, Mr. Town Administrator?
Well, I guess the thought process is that, my understanding is the town really hasn't engaged in this sort of a process in quite some time. So to put 20, 30 pieces of property on the market at one time
Yeah, you don't
might
wanna
be a
do
bit
that.
overwhelming. So let's do these, and in
Quarters.
the ensuing months after this is consummated, we'll bring some more pieces of property.
Can I ask you a question on the one on Lakeside Road that's held?
There's three.
Which one?
The $35,000 one.
Yes.
Are there two of those properties on Lakeside Road that also have a cottage with them, or a dwelling, or whatever it is?
I believe the only one with a dwelling is something I believe that needs to be taken down for the building inspector.
There's only one of them?
Lakeside Road has a building on it, and the other, the 12A and the 12B.
The one that we're gonna possibly sell together. Yeah.
Yes, that'll be sold as a joint, as a one parcel.
All right.
Because it has, the houses on one side of Lakeside, and on the other side of the street, it has
They're being
waterfront
held.
property, so those two parcels would be sold. It's recommended by the
Cons-
assessor and the treasure collector, sell it as one parcel.
But the Conservation Commission wishes to hold off on it, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because of the water issue, but that one will bring in the most money for it. A
Yeah.
lot of people are very interested in
Yeah,
purchasing that property.
because it's waterfront.
Is Oak Street on
Yeah.
it?
Okay.
Yeah, Oak Street. Oak Street, I believe, has a house on it as well.
I think that's the tear down.
It's definitely a tear down, but there is a building on it. That's one that the building inspector had recommended that we
Tear down.
make sure it was on the list so we can have that taken down.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
But we sell it as is, and the new owners take it down.
Everything is as is. No, we're not going
What's
to
the
demo
ones
anything.
on Lakeside? The one with the
Looking for a
waterfront?
motion for those particular properties? or how- how do
We'd
I know
be,
the one you're talking about, Bruce.
Yeah.
we'd be interested in a motion for
Why don't we just,
whatever the board wishes. I guess, again, my concern is I don't want
We should move
to.
forward and start
Yeah, not selling them.
selling some of the
No,
stuff.
and I
well,
want to give,
hold on for a second. Why don't we do this? So we've got, how many, we've got 6 properties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 properties on hold. Do we all agree that we should follow our department's concerns and put those properties in hold?
I don't think we have a
Well, not
choice.
necessarily.
but you don't have to do
No.
that.
No, not
No.
necessarily.
We don't.
Again, I don't want to overstep the Conservation Commission and their concerns.
Right.
I'd rather have the board, contemplate whether their concerns are something you want to move forward with. The one that I would definitely move or ask the board to remove at this point would be the one on McQuon, given the fact we've had 4 boards chime in and believe that that's something that we should pull aside. And I understand
What
their
about the one that
rationale.
pulled per assessors too, right?
The assessors, Concom, Highway, oh, yes, and the assessors, yes.
So we've got the McQuon Street properties we're being asked to hold per planning, highway, Concom, and assessors.
Yes,
And Brook Bend Road, we're being asked to pull per the assessors.
yes.
So do we all agree on those? I would motion to hold off, on those 2 parcels.
Yep.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion-
Second.
motion's
So you pulled those 2.
So,
Yeah.
right now, we're gonna parse it out, okay?
Yep.
So, I'm sorry, who moved it?
Mr. Howard.
Donnie
I
did,
did.
and I seconded it.
Yep.
In discussion, at some point, I would like to know why they want to hold, McQuon
Lakeside.
Street.
Especially
McQuon
in
Street's
Lakeside.
in Lakeside.
the old
So
Welke
I would like them to
property.
tell us, hey, look, there's, active turtles in the backyard,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't sell it, and conservation wants it. Whatever the reason is, I'd like to know the reason.
Yeah.
Not now, but at some point.
Right,
Well-
and it was,
I can
some
kind of help
short
you out a
notes.
little bit.
Oh,
You
Donnie?
can?
It might be for this is McQuon Street by Welke's old residence?
Correct.
Is that the property?
That's Crosby's,
Yeah, it's,
Crosby's.
I don't know whether the
Crowley,
design
I
is gonna
believe.
be used for something to do with the drainage for the rebuilding of McQuon Street,
Yeah, that could be.
and that's why
That's
there's
why
a
it's on
hold
hold.
on it.
Okay.
And that's what each department, that was exactly what Don said, that was each of the department's concerns on that particular
That was the
property.
old Wilkie place, Don.
Yes, I
Yeah.
know.
All right, so let's get through some of this, because we've got 9 properties. So we've got 2 on hold, right? We've got the McQuon Street one and the Brook Bend. I've
Yeah,
got a
you pulled
motion
both of
and
those.
second.
Okay.
All those in favor of holding those 2 properties?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Why don't I poll the next ones, okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna poll it for the board to I'll offer a motion, somebody will have to motion, and somebody will have to second it.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one we have is Oak Street, with a balance of $13,818.03.
Motion to auction it.
Motion to auction Oak Street.
Second.
Motion, it's been made by Mr. Howard, do I hear a second?
Second.
Done.
Second?
Don
Oh, somebody,
seconded it.
Oh, Dawn
Yeah.
did.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did.
Bruce,
Yeah, I apologize, okay. So Bruce, and so,
Can we
Put
do
it to
them all
vote.
together?
no, let's do them one, let's
Do
just,
them together, Mary?
let's just
Do
do,
them any way you wish.
let's just do, well, because there's a, so,
Because we're jumping around.
yeah. So Oak Street, all those in favor of selling Oak Street?
Aye.
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 Five. All right, so that one's done, right? We held on McQuon Street, so we've got Lakeside Road for $23,704.36
Motion to move forward on Lakeside Road, as stated.
for parcel 79. So it's made and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
This one is not being held, so this one is good to go. Okay, we've got our Conservation Commission has a shorefront for Lakeside Drive on 12A.
Is that the one with the brook running through it?
No, that's the second one.
That's the second.
I would recommend the board, if it's so inclined, actually to move these two properties together. As Mary mentioned, these would be these would be sold together.
Sold together as one?
Yeah,
Gotcha,
the two-
okay.
So A and B,
Yep.
right?
So properties 0790012A and B,
Yes.
Lakeside Road.
Is that the one, Lakeside, is that the one with the brook running through
Yeah,
it?
the second one, yes,
Permanent
B.
Stream, yeah.
But it's the same lot combined?
The
They're next to each
intention is
other.
to sell them combined.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to sell those two properties,
So moved.
Second.
moved and seconded. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Okay, those, how many we got ayes? Three?
No, aye.
Four? One against,
My
Mary.
hand up.
All right, 4-1, Mary, one against, I'm against.
You're against?
Yeah, I wanted, the only reason why is because I'm assuming, I'm going off the, I'm going with the Conservation Commission's recommendation to hold it. So that was my reasoning. Next one I have is Brook Street.
Where's the one on Brook Street? Is that down by Indian Head River?
Oh, it's a big one.
I have no idea, brother. That's gotta be,
The Clark property? Is that in that area?
I think so.
I believe so, yes, yes, sir.
so this is for $51,408.08. This
Well,
is,
that's what's owed, that's not
that's
necessarily
what's
the
owed,
value.
I'm sorry, yeah, I apologize. The
Oh,
balance owed, this is
thank
the
you for
balance
that.
owed.
Motion to hold the Brook Street property until we can get further information with Concom to see whether we want to move on it
I
later.
want to write well, question mark.
Second. I agree with that.
Motion has been made to hold, second on Brook Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep. So I'm with you on the Conservation Commission asking us for that one. Okay, we've got, the next one is on Whitman Street, and the balance owed on it is $13,364.86. And this is not being asked to be held by anyone, so.
Motion to auction off Whitman Street, $13,364.86.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next one, Adams Circle, at parcel 1190122,
Motion to auction off Adams Circle.
has a balance of $3,002.92.
Is that the one that's right on the river?
No, actually, I think it's across the street from the river. It's on the other
Okay.
side of Adams Circle, I believe.
All right.
Donnie, what's your concern? You're trying to save it for, well, in case?
No, kind of in that
Yeah,
area.
no, okay.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made, and motion was made and seconded? Who made the motion on this?
I made the motion.
Kenny Mitchell, seconded by Mr. Scott. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's a good idea, breaking it up into quarters, Mike, not everything at once.
We haven't sold
I
any.
appreciate it. We'll get the ones moved forward that the board has approved, and we'll get further clarification from,
You gonna go with an auction company, or how are you gonna do that?
we're gonna go through our tax attorney to start off, and then we'll go through an auctioneer. And there's, again, as I mentioned, there's a whole very comprehensive
Process.
policy that the board, previous boards have
What's this
voted.
vote
that
for
we-
sale?
so.
That's just email news, okay? Next
What else you have?
on our agenda is our town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I indicated to you a little earlier, because of the length of this meeting, I'm going to truncate a lot of what I was going to say and save it for the next meeting. I think the most important thing that I was going to request or talk to the board about was the item that the board just dealt with. I wanted to mention that we have put, and I gave you copies of the postings. We put that boat and that motorcycle on an auction site today, the proceeds of which will go to the Council on Aging once that is completed. We actually already have a bid on one of the items, again, which I just put in this afternoon. The early voting has been a big hit in the town of Hanson, and actually in most towns. Over 1,000 people have already taken advantage of the early voting here in the town of Hanson, and I'm happy to report again that it's been very well received, and people are very, very happy about it. I am going to apply for the town to get 2 or 3 WEX cards, which are basically gasoline charge cards that have been approved by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that can be used at pretty much any station, Shell, Mobil, what have you, as a backup to our fueling system. I've run into it in other towns in which I've worked where our fueling system has crashed. It's especially important for police cruisers, and what this card does do is it does not charge the federal and state tax, so it's it's a pretty good thing to have in the back of our pocket if we need it. I got a rather positive report in the first quarter from the Mayflower Municipal Medical Health Group. Again, we have put out and we are continuing to look at different options in terms of going forward with our insurance for our employees. However, I'm happy to report that they have had a very good return for the first quarter. Hopefully, maybe they're righting the ship and we won't see the sorts of increases that we saw this current fiscal year. We had the Sheriff's Department in, as I mentioned previously, and did some work to the far side of this building. The total cost for the landscaping they did was $45, just the cost of their lunch. I'm asking whether or not they would be willing to come back and clean up the Fire Department Association building that the town now owns on Main Street, that I discussed with you at one of the last meetings that the chief is using to do some storage in. I think it's important that we lead by example, and if we own that building, that we clean it up and make it presentable. It is in a state of disrepair, and hopefully they'll be able to help us out with trying to clean that up a bit. I am going to go on the 7th of November to a meeting, to a conference put on by the Operational Services Division with the state of Massachusetts in Carver to go over the new procurement laws that actually take effect on the 7th of November. There's been some significant changes in terms of how we need to proceed, and they're favorable changes on how we need to proceed with basically repairs and public construction projects. I particularly am interested in this so I can move forward on the Kiwanee roof repairs that have been basically funded by the CPA funds. Again, going back to some of the conversations that were on earlier today, it's been a bit of a trying period for us in terms of moving things forward. I want to move that forward, and again, I believe this new law is going to expedite what we need to do down there. And again, I'm gonna save a lot of what I was going to say to the next meeting. I will, just in passing, and I don't want to get into it very deeply, we did receive a grievance from the local union that I don't believe I'm going to need the Board of Selectmen to chime in on. I don't think it will reach your level. I think I'm going to be able to resolve that on
Which union
my
is it?
level. So,
Which union?
What's that?
Which union is it?
the Town Hall Clerical Union. And that's, again, I actually have 3 pages of stuff, and I'll get into the rest of that at the next meeting.
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, I know, Mike, and I'll just say it for short, okay? The water hookup to this town hall was not done properly. I went to a water meeting the other night, and it was very good, very informative. I have a new appreciation for those people and who deal with the water issues. They set a great priority. So, Mike, to your point on what that grievance is about, if you'll notice in our bathrooms, the black water that we have, it looks, and I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, Donnie, but the water in this town hall is being taken directly from the fire access,
It's
fire
from,
hydrant?
coming from the fire, the 6-inch water main for the sprinkler system,
Right, which makes it, which has high
which is
magnesium in it.
totally illegal, but
Yeah,
that's what they did in 1999.
right. So we have to
It's gonna be,
fix,
try to be corrected.
right.
Yes,
So
yes,
we
we're
have to fix that problem.
And we're moving forward as quickly as possible,
Right.
yes.
Thank you,
And
Mike.
that actually is the crux of the grievance.
I'm not so certain I agree with a complaint against it, but if we're moving forward with it, but whatever.
And again, it will be handled.
Right.
I just want to make the board aware in a general
Thank you.
sense that there was something before us that I will be taking care of.
Next item, Monpont Pond Committee reports.
I have a report on East Lake, it's 200 cells per million. On West Lake at 4th Avenue Beach, it's 1,693,000. At the boat ramp on 58, it's 1,438,000. And at Ocean Avenue Beach, it's 1,693,000. So therefore, Brockton is still not taking any water from Monpont Pond.
What parts per million is that? Is that bacteria count, or what is that?
That's the cyanobacteria,
Cyanobacteria.
which you don't want to put into Silver Lake because Brockton will be losing Silver Lake as a water supply. And then what are they going to do?
Thank you, Donnie. Indian Head and McQuon Priority Repair Committee.
This is an easy one. I have nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Highway Building Committee, Mr. Scott.
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Final Plymouth County Hospital Committee update.
I have an update on the 12th of November of this month. There is another, going to be a walk, probably the last one this year. If any resident that wants to come and walk around the Plymouth County Hospital grounds to see what's been done and what's going to be done, they're all welcome.
What's the
It'll
date
be-
again in the walk? November 12th?
It's be November 12th,
It's a
9
Saturday.
o'clock, it's a Saturday. The last two walks we had, it were rain both days, and nobody showed up but 3 of us, but anyhow. We'll try again for the last one this year. Prior to that, we might have more information on the demolition of the hospital.
And if Mr. Howard wishes, bless you, I can update a couple of things that I think I shared with Dawn at one point, in terms of the demo. The process in terms of requirements from the state has been initiated. The property is protected on some level with a historic designation, so the Historic Commission will be meeting on November the 9th to recommend and send a letter to the state saying they support the demolition of this particular building. It's just, a formality. The PCB contamination is not as extensive as previously thought, so that's good news. There was a PCB transformer found in a former X-ray room that we will proceed with having removed forthwith, so that it doesn't spill and cause a worse contamination. We think that we will be able to use some of the street sweepings and other material that have been stored on that property for the eventual fill of the basement, of the foundation, probably to the tune of a savings of about $200,000. So that's good news as well. Just a little bit of testing that needs to be done to make sure that we can do all of that. And what we're looking at in terms of a time frame is the potential advertisement of this project mid-November with hopefully a full demolition by the end of the fiscal year, the calendar year.
Calendar.
Yep.
I also like to remind residents that we've got daylight savings time this coming Saturday. Make sure you turn your clocks back, right? And get out and vote on November 8th. And make sure you honor your veterans on November 11th.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Motion, meeting adjourned.
I didn't have a